Well, happy Tuesday and welcome to VA Careers Live. My name is Mike Owens and I'm a national recruiter with the Veterans Health Administration, as well as your host for our weekly segment, Talk About It Tuesday. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, as always, I want to let you know that we appreciate you joining in and we want you to grab a drink and we just want you to know we're here every Tuesday. So if you're tuning in for the first time, we are here every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time, so feel free to grab a snack, grab something to drink, and join us as we talk about careers here at VA. Now, whether you've been here for the first time, whether you're here for the first time, or you've been with us for the last 3 years, as always, we got the week. We want you to be part of our program, so feel free to leave those questions and comments in our comment section, whether you're watching through your cell phone, you're watching on a computer, wherever you're watching, there is a comment section where you can go ahead and submit your comments and questions. As you know, my team and I, we like to go through those questions throughout the day and throughout the week. And some of your questions may be featured on today's Talk About It Tuesday segment. So, um, and another thing, we all know someone who wants to work at VA. I know people that want to work for VA. My coworkers know people that want to work for VA. You all that are watching, you all know someone that wants to work for VA, including yourselves. So let's do them a favor and let's get this information out to them. So if you can, we ask kindly to please hit the share button. Again, click that share button and you can use the hashtags work at VA. Again, hashtag work at VA and hashtag VA careers. And go ahead and share our broadcast, and let's get this information out to as many people as possible. So with that, as always, thank you for watching, and we're going to go ahead and get into our topic for today. So on this lovely May the 2nd, I hope everyone's had a great April. This is the beginning of May. For those who had luck with interviews and getting hiring back in April, congratulations. Those of you who are still job searching and trying to get on with VA, it's a new month. And we're going to make sure that we give you all information that we can to make sure you are an attractive candidate here at VA. So again, welcome. So the first thing I want to ask is we talk about a lot of different things, a lot of different ways you can make yourself an attractive candidate at VA. And I know a lot of times we talk about work experience, but I know we don't spend a lot of time on education. So my question of the day is, if you have a graduate certificate, if you have a degree, no matter if it's an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, or whether you went through a certificate program at a university or you may have a trade, anything that you want to share. What did you get your trade, your degree in? What's your what did you major in and what is your degree in? What career field? Because we last week we were talking about networking, and you never know who's watching this program. You never know who's looking in the comment section, and someone may see. We may have a VA hiring manager that may see your degree program and be like, you know what, that person's a good candidate. Let me reach out to that person or let me send some jobs their way. So if you have a trade, if you have a certificate, if you have any type of postgraduate degree, go ahead and put what type of degree, what was the subject, what was the major. Go ahead and put that in the comment section now. And I'm sure including myself, there are a lot of VA recruiters out there that may reach out to you or may be able to send you some jobs that corresponds with the degree program that you have. So we're going to go ahead and highlight education in our comment section today. So while you guys doing that, today we're going to talk about careers in the human resources career field here at VA. So as we know, human resources is a very, very critical part of VA. And just being frank, human resources is a very important part of any type of business, especially if there's employees involved or people that are trying to work for that company. But specifically at VA, human resources is important. And human resources is so important at VA that it's been made a critical occupation, which means that we're always looking for human resources professionals, whether it's at the assistant level, at the specialist level, or even the supervisory level. If you go into USA Jobs, I think I did a job search here. I have my computer right here, so if you see me looking down, I actually did a job search of human resources on USA Jobs today, and I filtered out every other organization, so it's only Department of Veterans Affairs, and there are hundreds of jobs open for HR professionals. So if you're someone that's looking to come into the if you're someone that's coming to, you want to start your HR career, or you want to go ahead and you're already working in HR at your current company and you want to become a human resources professional here at VA, there's a lot of positions open there, and there are a lot of positions that are open to the public in case you're not a federal employee already. So yeah, you go ahead and apply for those jobs. So yes, but as I mentioned earlier, human resources is a critical occupation here within VA. We have a lot of openings for HR, so please, it's very important. And HR specialists, or I would say professionals, because there's different levels of HR here. I would say that we're looking for people at every level. So again, yeah, just make sure that you go and apply for those positions. So now, working as an HR specialist in VA, there's a lot of different things you can do. But human resources specialists here at VA, or human resources professionals, they provide guidance and consultation. They analyze human resources issues, because every day we're learning something new. And the VA is the biggest, the VHA, Veterans Health Administration, is the biggest healthcare system here in the United States. So since we're the biggest healthcare system, that means we have the most employees out of any healthcare system, which also means we have the most issues. And there are issues that arise on a daily basis that may not be in our regulations. There may be issues that come up with an employee that may have not been covered in guidance. So we don't want to dismiss any employee's issues. We don't want to dismiss any of their concerns. So yeah, so we research and analyze. We make sure that every employee that has an issue, we're going to analyze that issue and see how we can best help that issue and best help that employee. You're going to provide factual human resources information, just like here. Even though I'm a national recruiter, I'm coded as a human resources specialist. So when I come on Talk About It Tuesday, or when my coworkers Tim and Kendra come on a weekly basis, we want to make sure that we're giving you the most factual information. We never want to feel like we're giving you guys wrong information, because again, we want to make sure that you guys are attractive candidates for the VA. And even if we have some current VA employees that are looking to transfer from one facility, transfer from one office to another, we want to make sure that you all are getting the most factual information so you can transfer from one facility to the next, or wherever you want to go within VA. Recommending solutions as a human resources. Again, there's going to be issues that arise with new candidates. There are going to be issues that arise with current employees. There may be issues that arise during the onboarding process of employees, and there may be issues that arise on the inside once the employee is already working for VA. And you want to, again, you always want to make sure your workers are happy. So as part of being a human resources professional within VA, you're also resolving issues that may come up. And so there's different tracks. There's different tracks that different areas of HR that we cover here at VA. First thing is classification. Classification is drafting and helping supervisors draft positions for their office. If a position comes open in someone's office and that supervisor writes that position description, it goes to classification. Classification is going to make sure that all the language is correct in the job announcement. They're going to make sure that like we say, all of our T's are crossed and all our I's are dotted. And you just want to make sure that you're giving consultation to that hiring manager and say, okay, you gave me this position description. We looked over it and we think you should tweak it, or this is some changes you should make, or this is, the pay grade that corresponds for this position description. So before something hits USA Jobs, before you guys see it on USA Jobs or VA Careers, it goes through a lot of different processes to make sure that information is factual and it's within regulation. All right. Compensation, that's another area within HR that our HR professionals work in. And if you work in compensation, you're advising on flexibilities to help recruit, manage, and retain employees. There are certain incentives that certain employees get when they get hired onto VA. You may have relocation assistance. You may have a bonus. You may have the opportunity to negotiate, to help a new employee negotiate maybe their pay rate that they want to come in. Maybe if they're coming as a GS7, I know there are a lot of candidates out there that they want to negotiate that pay grade. So those compensation helps give hiring managers, and they help consult hiring managers on those flexibilities that they have and that wiggle room that they have with incoming employees. All right. Of course, then the next thing is staffing. In this area of HR with staffing, you're onboarding. You're selecting, you're recruiting, you're selecting employees. You're out there looking for the best candidates for these positions. You're onboarding. You're examining applications. You're examining resumes. You're hiring. You're interviewing candidates, and you're helping staffing. You're helping make sure that that perfect candidate is selected and that perfect candidate goes through a flawless onboarding process. Benefits is another section within HR. A lot of people come to VA, or a lot of people come to the government sector, but we're going to talk about VA. A lot of people come to VA because they love the benefits. There are a lot of different benefits of working at VA. You have time off, you have paid holidays, you have sick leave, you have the best medical benefits. There's a lot of benefits that VA employees. There's a lot of benefits here that they that they love, that they get, and that they it's as I can say, there's no one that ever comes to VA that complains about the benefits. So if you are an HR person working in the benefits side of the house, you're making sure that current employees, those employees that are coming on that are new, you're making sure that they're very well versed in those benefits and that they sign up for those benefits. The next thing is performance management. As an HR specialist, you're going to be helping supervisors with performance management. We know that every year there's a performance evaluation that goes out to every VA employee. And so as a human resources specialist, you're giving out guidance you're giving out guidance to I don't know why I'm so tongue tied today. I'm having a case of the Mondays on the Tuesday, but you're helping supervisors with those performance plans to make sure that all of their employees that work under them have a performance evaluation that's up to par, and have a performance evaluation that can help them in their career. Employee relations. As a human resources specialist, you may be working in employee relations, which means you're helping current employees deal with issues that may arise in the workplace. You're helping supervisors that may have issues that arise in the workplace. So employee relations is very important. Labor relations. We all know that VA has they have, when it comes to labor relation, we have different, I can't think of the word. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank today, but they participate in establishing, maintaining effective relations with labor organizations that represent the federal employee, perform fact finding and research applicable laws and policies as part of preparation for negotiation and labor agreements. So there's a lot of different groups that represent the VA employees, and as part of working in labor relations with the VA, you're making sure that these organizations that help represent employees, that of course that the regulations are in place, and making sure that they're fairly representing VA employees. So there's a lot of different areas in HR that you can work in. There's a lot of different things. And as I'm looking down here, I'm looking at some of the open occupations on USA Jobs. You got a human resources specialist position that's open for recruitment and placing. You have a supervisory human resources specialist. You have for quality assurance, you have a human resources specialist. You have one for, again, employee relations and labor relations. You have a human resources officer position that's open, an assistant human resources officer position that's open. So there's a lot of different human resources position that open. So if you are looking to work in human resources with VA, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And if you're interested, I would tell you to go apply. And speaking of human resources opportunities, I mentioned the HR Star program. All right. And at the moment, we actually have an announcement that's currently open. I think it closes either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. But for those of you who do not know what the HR Star program, that's our Human Resources Specialist Training and Accelerated Readiness Program. So the STAR stands for Specialist Training and Accelerated Readiness. What this HR Star program is, it is a 1-year internship. It's a 1-year paid internship. You come in as a GS7. So that's the one caveat I want to tell everyone. If you get selected for the HR Star program, the initial announcement was a GS9, but subsequent announcements that came out after last summer, they're all GS7. So what happens is that you come in as a GS7. Now, if you're already a government employee and you're a GS9, you're a GS11, you will have to drop down to GS7. Now, what happens is you do your 1 year as a GS7. If you successfully complete the 1-year program, you're going to be placed in a permanent HR program. Now, the whole program is virtual, so you won't have to worry about working into a facility. Even during a 1-year internship, everything will be virtual. Everything will be work from home. You will get support, like equipment support from the local facilities that are in your area. But it is a virtual program. I know that's a question I get from a lot of people. But you will come on as a GS7. You do your year. But the HR Star program is a ladder grade position, which means you start off as a GS7, but each year you can get promoted until you reach the GS12 level. So yes, basically, if you come onto this program, if everything goes right, if everything goes perfect, you start off as a GS7 and you end up as a GS12. So you won't be stuck at 7, you won't be stuck at 8, you won't be stuck at 9. You won't be stuck at 11. You'll be able to move up every year until you reach GS12 in a virtual human resources position. And no, you don't have to apply for each pay grade. Again, those will be, I won't say automatic, because obviously you have to have a great performance evaluation, or you have to show that you're performing at a level that is acceptable. But you won't have to apply for a different position to move up to any other grade up to 12. Now, once you reach the GS12 and you want to move into a GS13 position, then yes, you'll have to apply for a GS13 position. But if you come into the HR Star program, you will come as a 7, but it is a career ladder position all the way up until the grade of 12, and it's all virtual. So we have an announcement open. I think my team put that announcement in the comment section. But if not, you can go to VA Careers website, or you can go to USA Jobs and just put HR Star, H, the letter R. So for our military folks out there, it's Hotel Romeo Star, or HR Star. Put that in the search engine, and that announcement will come up. So I just pulled it up. It is currently open, and it actually closes tomorrow. So if you have not applied for that HR Star position, please go and do it immediately. It closes tomorrow, and I don't want you to miss out because you missed the announcement. All right. So with that, thanks for watching. Well, not thank you for watching. We have to go to our comment section to see what questions out there. And I apologize. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm having a case. I had some meetings earlier, so I guess I kind of got distracted, but I'm having a case on the Mondays, on the Tuesdays. So if I kind of fumble through some of this information, I apologize for that. But I'll go ahead and pull up some questions really quick. Let's see what we have here. All right. And let me just scroll all the way up, and let's see what we have. Sorry for the shaking of the phone. All right. So we have a question from Karen. Karen, first of all, Karen, thank you for submitting this question. Karen is asking, what degree would be acceptable to what degree would be acceptable to be qualified for the HR Star program? So I would say this is that a degree is not required. I will say that it is preferred, but a degree is not required to be on the HR Star program. So I'll start with that caveat. But if we want to talk specifically about degrees, any degree would help. Any degree would be helpful. If you have any associate's degree, any bachelor's, any master's degree, or even PhD level degree, any degree would be helpful. But if we want to kind of narrow it down. Any degree that is centered around human resources. I know a long time ago we didn't have a degree. We didn't have degree programs that were centered around human resources, but I know within the last 10, 15 years, you see more degree programs that are actually centered around, it may be business administration with a specialty in human resources. You have some universities out there that actually have a human resources degree. So if you have a business degree or any degree that's around administration or any degree that is around human resources specifically, that can possibly help you propel you to the front of the line. But I would say that if you have any type of degree, don't fret if your degree maybe is in English, or let's say you have a degree in math or education, or you have a degree in something else that's not specifically human resources. Don't fret. Don't feel like you're disqualified. If you have a degree and you have the experience behind it to say that you have administration and you have human resources experience, all of that can play a part in you getting into the HR Star program. So again, thank you for that question, Karen. So I have another question I'm sorry if I butcher your name. It looks like it's Gabdo, Gabdo, and this person is asking, if I'm GS9 eligible, will I still start at GS7? So, as I mentioned earlier, that with the HR Star program, no matter where you are in the GS pay scale, whether you're GS9 or GS11 or GS5, if you get accepted into the HR Star program for your 1 year training, you will be a GS7. That's, I asked that question as a recruiter. I make sure I ask that question to multiple people, and I've asked it to multiple people. And yes, you will start off as a GS7, because I have a lot of people that want to come on in the HR Star program that may be GS9s already. And so I wanted to make sure that I had clarification on this particular answer. So yes, if you do join the HR Star program, you will come on as a GS7. But again, it's a ladder position. So if you do well in the program, once the year is up, guess what? You're probably going to be placed in a GS9 position. And then you do your year as a GS9, you have a successful evaluation. Guess what? You can move up to GS11. And then after a year as a GS11, if you have another successful performance evaluation, guess what? Now you're sitting at 12. So you are getting promoted on a yearly basis if you are successful in the program and you are successful with your yearly performance evaluation. So don't get stuck on the GS7. I know it may be a cut and pay for some people, but if you think about the fact that you're getting into a stellar HR program, you're going to be well versed in human resources throughout VA once you're done with this program. And you're going to be moving up on a yearly basis if you are successful each year. So think about the long term. I know the short term says, hey, if I'm a GS9, I'm going to GS7. But think about it, in a few years, you're going to be a GS12 if everything is successful. So, yes, but to just answer your question on the short term, if you do get selected for the HR Star program, no matter which GS level you are, you will come on as a GS7. So thank you for asking that question. All right, let's see what I have here. So I have another question for, I think it's Ashmeen. So Ashmeen, thank you for submitting this question. Ashmeen is asking, how long is the process once your application has been referred to the hiring manager? Should I wait for a call or email once considered? So we get this question a lot. So I'm always happy to answer this question. So yes. So let's say you found this perfect job on USA Jobs or VA Careers. You applied for it. Your application was good, and you get this email that says, hey, guess what? You've been referred to the hiring manager. We love those emails because, there's a lot of, even when I was applying for positions here at the VA, I went through a lot of applications before I even got one referred to the hiring manager email. And once you get that referred to the hiring manager, it brings that excitement. It's like, man, I finally got past that first process. Now I'm getting the hiring manager to actually look at my application. But I would say there's really no timeline. What happens is that when your application is referred to the hiring manager, you have to understand that it's not just your application. We have positions here at VA one of the last positions that I helped recruit for was an HR Star program. Not this one that's open now, but the last announcement that we had. It was open for a week, and we had 7,200 people apply for that announcement. And so you have to realize 7,200 people. That's 7,200 applications that have to be initially evaluated. Once those 7,200 initial evaluations are done, then there's a certain number that are referred to the hiring manager. That number can be 5, that number can be 10, that number can be 100 applications. So when your application is being referred to the hiring manager, it's being referred with a stack of other applications. And I can't give you a particular number on how many applications that is. Again, it can just be a handful, or it can be 2 or 3 dozen applications that are going to the hiring manager. Once it gets to the hiring manager, then the hiring manager puts together a group of VA employees, and they go and they evaluate those applications. So even when your application gets to the hiring manager's desk, there's another evaluation process that a panel that the hiring manager puts together a panel. That panel then goes and grades all of those applications that were referred to the hiring manager. And what that panel is doing, that panel is trying to find the most highly qualified people within that stack to interview. Because once that panel finishes those applications, let's say they get 20 applications. The hiring manager gets 20 applications forwarded to them. That panel goes through those 20 applications, and the hiring manager says, "Hey, I want you guys to pick 5 people for me to interview." So now they have to weed out 15 applications to pick the 5. And then from there, those 5 individuals will get interviewed. And then from those 5 individuals, then the hiring manager will make a selection on who's the best person or who's the best fit for that position. So it's a lengthy process. It's a lot that goes to it. So I would say just be patient. Don't call. And you have to realize hiring someone is not that, even though it's a priority, it's not that hiring managers, it's not all that they do. They still have their normal duties, their normal job duties that they have to get through throughout the day, throughout the week. There's a lot of meetings that they have to go through. So hiring somebody, although it's a priority, it's also an additional duty that they have to make sure that not only do they hire that person, that they're also meeting their other job requirements throughout the day. So again, it's just a lengthy process. And I would just say, just be patient. If you haven't heard anything within maybe 2 to 3 weeks, then maybe after 3 weeks you can reach out. But I would say initially within that first couple of weeks, just sit and wait, because again, once that stack of applications get to the hiring manager, they have to go through all those applications. And I couldn't tell you if it's 5 applications. I can't tell you if it's 100 applications, but it's not just yours. And so that's why we just ask you guys to be patient when it comes to that. All right. So, Pamela is asking, so this is the last question that was submitted, and we're running out of time. So Pamela says, first of all, Pamela, thank you for submitting this question. It says, does a Schedule A letter makes a difference in the hiring process? So does a Schedule A letter makes a difference in the hiring process? So I would say yes and no, Pamela. It makes a difference if that job announcement is, there's certain different, when a job comes open, when a position vacancy comes open in USA Jobs, that hiring manager can either open that job to the general public, which means all US citizens, or that job may be open to certain candidates with special considerations, whether it be veterans, whether it be military spouses, whether it may be current VA employees, whether it be disabled veterans. So when you look at that who may apply section, and it says that, okay, we're giving special considerations to disabled veterans, then yes, your Schedule A letter will make a difference. But if it's just open to the general public and it doesn't have any special considerations, when you look at that who may apply section, although that Schedule A letter can pull some weight, but it may not be the determining factor if it's not one of the special considerations under the who may apply section. So whenever you look at a vacancy on USA Jobs or VA Careers, always go to the who may apply section. If it says open to all U.S. citizens, that means anyone can apply. There's no special considerations that are going to be given. But if it does say disabled veterans, if it does say veterans, if it does say former or current federal employees, if it does say current VA employees, if it has those different statuses in the who may apply section, then you may get special consideration based on if you fall under one of those statuses. But if it's not, if there's no special status listed, if it just says open to you all U.S. citizens, then obviously, even though you can still submit your Schedule A letter with the application, it may not pull as much weight as if it was an announcement that said, hey, we're going to give special consideration to Schedule A recipients. So Pamela, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the questions that you guys submit. And even if your question wasn't brought up on today's broadcast, I will personally, and I know members of my team that'll help out with this broadcast, they're going to make sure they go through this comment section and make sure that we answer your other questions. So please, if your question wasn't answered today on the air, we'll go through it, and I'll talk to some of you all in the comment section. So with that, it is now 11:32 a.m. And again, I like to say it because this broadcast is live, and I am on Central Time. So I know Eastern Time it's 12:32. Some of you that live on the West Coast is only 9:32. So good morning to you guys there. And I'll actually be on the West Coast tomorrow. I will be at a VA recruitment event out there in Long Beach, California. So if you live in the Los Angeles and Long Beach area, go ahead and put that in the comment section. I'll be in Long Beach for the next 3 days at a recruitment conference for VA. Well, not for VA, but a physician recruitment event out there. So I'm looking forward to being able to visit the Long Beach and Los Angeles area. So with that being said, thank you for watching. As I always say, and as Tim and Kendra, my other co-workers who pop up on this program periodically, we appreciate you watching us. We've been on for 3 years. You guys have stuck with us. And for those who are watching for the first day, keep watching. There's always something you're going to learn on each of our broadcasts. So with that, thank you for watching. Happy Tuesday, and we will see you on next week. Have a great day.